Hi and welcome on a quick video on how to change or replace a light switch. So we've got a single gang, which just means a single switch. This one's actually a two-way light switch. This is a pretty standard thing that you find in homes all up and down the UK. On the back here I've got, get it in view a bit better, a single hole on its own is common. Now we've got L1 and L2. You put your wire in these holes and then tighten it up from the screws on the side. When you have the switch recessed into the wall, it'll either be in a steel back box if it's in sort of plaster, concrete, or brick, or if it's a timber stud wall covered in plasterboard, you'd have a dry lining box. For today's purpose, just because they're probably a bit more common in the work we do, we'll use a steel back box. Now in the wall, going into this steel back box, will go becoming a cable. So if you're replacing your switch, you'll take it off, the old one, and you'll have a cable with three conductors, brown, blue, and then one, it might have some earth sheath on already, ours hasn't, so some I prepared earlier. We'll just pop some earth sheath over it, and that shows that it is actually the earth conductor. If it's older wiring, it will be different colours to this. It's quite common for the brown to be red or the blue to be black, but don't worry too much about that. So what we're going to do is get our switch, and on the single hole where the common, which is the common, we'll put in brown, and that's the live that will be coming from either the ceiling rose or the junction, depending on which method the house is wired in. Now the other conductor is blue. That's because normally on a circuit you'd be putting neutral through this. For a switch line, we use the blue as the live coming out of the switch. So we need to just mark this either as brown or red, so that in the future, if anyone opens up the switch, they realise that it is actually a live conductor and not a neutral. Pop that in there, tighten it up. In terms of tightness, don't over tighten them because the copper will then actually break and snap off, and you can get that situation where you start running out of conductor because you keep breaking it and breaking it and breaking it. So yeah, just put it in. It needs to be firm, and give it a bit of a tug and it will stay in there. A bit of a tug, stay in there. So what we've got now is our switch connected. So what would happen in this scenario is the live would come down into the switch. Put the common at the top. The live would come down into the switch. You switch the switch, and it would then go back through the blue that we marked with red, back up to the light and power on the light. This uninsulated earth, we'll pop the earth sleeve back on because it's fallen off, as it tends to do, and you'll notice in the back of the back box, steel back box, is a brass screw with a hole in it. We need to put our earth in there so that the whole back box is earthed. If in a fault condition one of these cables comes out, and particularly this one rests against the back box, it could then become live. If it's earthed and connected properly, it will disconnect or blow a fuse back at the board. So it's very important to make sure that you do connect your earth to the back of the light switch. It can be a bit tricky. It's actually even more tricky because this back box isn't fixed. In a real life scenario, this would be screwed in or plastered into the wall. So that's connected. Worth mentioning too, if your switches are metal, i.e. the plate's metal for decorative purposes, you need to then take another piece of earth, connect it to the little brass screw in the back box, and there'll be another lug on the back of the plate that you connect it to, and that way you ensure that the switch plate is earth, so if that becomes live you won't get a shock from touching it. Then what we do is push the switch on. Just be careful that none of your cables or wires are going behind where the faceplate gets screwed in, because these little 3.5mm terminal screws can nick the cables, and you can be they will trip the RCD or the MCB in the fuse board. Put that in, screw it in. Again, don't over tighten it or you will crack the faceplate. You just want to tighten it so it starts, when you're doing it, so it pulls against the wall so there's no movement. And that one. So that's it. There's your switch. If we can help you at all, then please just either call or email on the number and email address above. Thanks for watching.